Hey everyone, it's Angie from Bobo, and today we're diving into the Wanderlust Passport journal spread for one of our new stockists, Evergreen Lodge in Yosemite. If you're new here, we don't just sell journals directly to folks like you, but we also supply to stores all across the country. And sometimes a store will request a custom sample from us. I can customize it to the region, and their customers can come in and see how to use the journal. So let's do that together today. I did forget to hit record after the start, so we'll be jumping in a few minutes after I started. But if you want the full rundown and see from very beginning to very end, you can check out any other video on our page. But without further ado, let's get started. Let's fill this journal out together. The first part that I'm filling out here is our accommodation section. And usually I like to put things like the point of interest. So maybe it's a park you went to or a restaurant you ate at. It could be the hotel that you stayed at or a museum. Whatever the destination is that you're going to be documenting in your spread, I will usually put that place here, and then I'll give it a fun little rating. Like I'll rate it by how much I liked it, so I'll give it a star rating, and then I will give it a price rating. Once I have that all filled out, I will always start with photos. I use photos to anchor my spreads, and I'm using my Tombow double-sided tape, which I love and I carry all the time, and a photo that I printed. If you want to go down the rabbit hole of what photo printer I like to travel journal with, I've got a video for it in my feed. I've got a couple videos where I'm reviewing some printers, but the one that you want to look for, I'll link it in the show notes, but it's the Canon Selfie and the Instax printer. Those are my two favorite. For this video, what you're seeing and these photos, they are from the Canon Selfie. I like using a few different types of pens. Right now I'm using these mild liners. They are the brush tip style. I usually love using Tombow, that's my preferred pen, but mild liners are great too. I feel like these act more like highlighters than they do kind of pigmented markers, which is more what Tombow is. But what you're seeing here right now with me layering these two colors to create this ombre effect, I am using mild liner brush pens. This is a new pen that I'm carrying in my shop. So yeah, if you didn't know, I also have a retail store. I have a brick and mortar stationery shop in Palm Springs, California. But this is a new pen that we're carrying. It's by Tom's Studio, based out of the UK. And this pen is called the Wren, and W-R-E-N, like the bird. And it is supposed to be basically like a pen you will never ever have to get rid of, like your forever pen. And it's got this beautiful aluminum handle and cap. It comes with, which I can only better describe as a tampon that you put your ink in. It's got that little fibrous filling wrapped in plastic that you dip into ink, or you can take an ink dropper and fill it with ink. And you can just use this pen forever. It's got a replaceable nib. I just love the way that it writes. It's really smooth, and it pulls quite a bit of ink out. And I like that if I don't like this color, I can switch it out with another pen tampon. I need to figure out what they're called, but I can use like whatever inks and switch them out. I can switch the nibs out too, but I'm really happy with this pen. So now I've written a little blurb about the fun thing that we did, and just a reminder, of course, this is fictional. I did not do this, unfortunately. I wish I did. But we are filling out a passport for our stockist, Evergreen Lodge in Yosemite. So I wanted to have like kind of a Yosemite-themed spread. I was like Googling different places in Yosemite, and I know Curry Village is a great place. You can go stop and eat there. But I just love that when I looked it up, there are all these cute little glamping yurts. And it just reminded me of when I was a kid going to Yosemite and like camping in Curry Village, and me just thinking that like there was going to be curry there because I'm Asian and I love curry, specifically like Southeast Asian curry. And of course, to my disappointment, there was no curry to be had. But I did some Googling and I just love these little yurts and wanted to incorporate that into the spread. What's really funny now is I'm watching this in the playback and it looks like this footage is sped up, but it's not. When I'm sketching, I feel like there's so much hesitation and I'm just kind of moving my hand around a lot and making decisions of where I'm going to put the pen down. That was not sped up. Now I'm just coming in with pops of color. This is the Tombow dual brush pen. These are my favorite. I've been using these things for so many years. And as far as like learning how to draw, I've always been really creative. I've never taken like an art class before. I don't know the techniques and mechanics of drawing per se. It's just something I've done a lot of and it's all feel for me. You know, I've watched maybe a few YouTube videos of other artists, but my attention span is never there to really absorb any new techniques. I just kind of do what I think feels right. I squint my eyes and look at things and play around with color. But I definitely don't have like a polished artistic style. As my friend Nikki described her art style, which I would say mine is very similar to, is she called it very slapdash, which I loved. Thought that was like a perfect way to describe it. So here I'm just alternating between two sets of pens. Before I was using the Tombow, which are more like markers, and here I'm using mild liners again, which is what I used for the lettering in the beginning, the ones that are more like highlighters. When you're thinking about lettering or drawing or writing, don't be afraid of layering. I wanted to write Curry Village here, and so kind of thinking about my placement, you know, where do I want to write long form text? I had already committed to this illustration, so I just decided to layer over it, and that's okay. It actually looks great. This is sort of my like signature lazy lettering thing. Doing the dual tone ombre effect. I think it's really important that people focus less on being professional lettering artists and just find a style that they love and enjoy. Oh, this is one of my favorite things. So when you print from the Canon Selfie, prints on a 4x6, and there are these little edges that you can crack and snap. They're like borders or like bleed edges on the paper, but it's perforated and you just snap it off. And I love snapping the edges off of those photos. It's so satisfying. One of the best parts about getting to make sample books, they're time consuming and, you know, I have to carve the time out to do it. And usually when we're placing or making custom journals for stockists, like we have to move relatively quickly, like to get the sample out to them so that they can sell the journals in their shop. But my favorite part is getting to like learn about a new place and create a fake spread essentially. So I get to do some research, find some photos, learn about little corners of the country that I wouldn't maybe get the opportunity to visit. So that's my favorite thing. And like finding the photos and then picking the photos and then kind of capturing a make-believe story about that place. If you know me, I'm always highlighting food. I love writing about food. I have a few weird quirks when I'm traveling. First one is if I'm traveling internationally, I always try and find a McDonald's because McDonald's is different in every country.
And I did discover that in Chicago, there's like an international McDonald's retail shop, restaurant, where you can get items from all of the menus from all over the country. That sounds like a dream. You know, I'm not normally just like chowing down on McDonald's, but there's something about experiencing McDonald's in other countries that is so fun. One of my favorite items was in Norway. They had like a curry dipping sauce that was so good. And they had, like, strangely enough, a lot of passion fruit stuff. Like, you know how in America they have the apple pie, like the little crispy apple pie? In Norway, they had like a crispy passion fruit pie and a passion fruit McFlurry. It was so crazy. I'm like, what is the connection with passion fruit in Norway? Maybe it's just overly exotic, but I love doing that. Another thing that I absolutely do in every country is get an orange soda, because orange soda is different in every country. You get a Fanta here and it just tastes like sugar. And a Sunkist, yeah, just sugar. And you're learning a lot about my preferences for junk food right now, but hear me out. So when you go to other countries, I think they just like use different stuff. Like they don't use the same high fructose corn syrup. I don't know. But my favorite places that I've ever had an orange soda, Costa Rica, which I think might be the same ones that they use in Mexico. It might be a little bit different, but that one slaps. And I also like the one in Iceland. It almost has like an orangina flavor to it. Okay, Angie, enough about junk food. So you might have noticed when I've created this setup, I've broken everything up into quadrants. I talk about this in some of my other videos, but people sometimes don't really know how to fill the page out. They get really overwhelmed. So you'll see that I really just have things in two quadrants. The small photo with the word sunrise, that's one quadrant. The larger photo printed is one quadrant. The Curry Village sandwich, text, that's one quadrant. And here now I'm just filling in space. So I hope that sort of idea of breaking things down into smaller sections eliminates some of the kind of anxiety around like, what do I write? I can't fill a whole page of stuff. I don't know what to talk about. I can't draw. So if you have a photo in each quadrant, that gives you just enough room to write. If you're more of a doodler, you know that you can use smaller photos and take up more room for your drawing, and then you have less to write. So it's really like what your personal preference is. I personally love to doodle. So I'm filling in some of the negative space or the empty space by drawing in some of the kind of local flora and fauna from the region. These are like lavenders and forget-me-nots and other beautiful wildflowers that you see over in Mirror Lake. And I'm just layering in different shades of purple. I start with a lighter purple from my Tombow pen. I think that was a Tombow pen. I have to go back and look. And then I went over it with a mild liner. And I'm not really drawing petals per se. Oh yeah, here's a Tombow. I'm not really drawing petals. I'm just sort of creating like little splotches of color and then layering that to kind of create an effect. Because ideally we're not trying to create like a realistic drawing. I'm just sort of squinting my eyes and trying to capture like the essence of a shape. And here I'm layering some yellow and some orange to sort of make like a poppy or some sort of poppy-like flower. To be honest, I was not thrilled with this flower. But when you kind of start putting all these pieces together, it almost doesn't matter if one thing doesn't look great. It just becomes part of a larger collage. Because I can't leave a good thing alone, here I am adding little shadow lines. And I'm basically taking a lighter color and tracing over the lines where you would normally see a shadow. When I tend to have text-heavy spreads, I like to add this sort of color background over the text. That way I know that what's written with the yellow dashes is different than what might be written with blue dashes. It's just a visual thing. And I sort of like a maximalist look. I don't like a really simple look. I like things to look kind of crazy. That's my personal aesthetic. So I just like to add color wherever I can. And I have this little divider area, so I thought, let's put some washi tape there. But very quickly realized, I don't know if I like that. And this is one of the joys of washi tape. It's a non-destructive adhesive, so you can put it on your journals. You have an opportunity to maybe move things around. When I have people that come into my store and I see parents wanting to buy stickers for their kids, I always direct them towards the washi tape because you don't want stickers all over your walls and your windows. They're really hard to get rid of, as where washi tape is non-destructive. So people do use it to tape like photos and things like that into their journal. I still prefer using a double-sided tape dispenser and then using washi to accent your journal spreads. I'm just not a fan of using washi as the mechanism to tape things into my journal. So since I removed that washi tape, which my original thought was I would use that as a divider to divide the two sections up, I've just decided to doodle in there instead. Sometimes it could be as simple as drawing like a squiggly line. I'm being a little extra here and I drew in a row of trees. And then I'm going to come in and I used the Tombow monoline pen to kind of sketch them in, and here I'm using the Tombow dual brush pen to fill it in with some color. And just like I did with the lavender on the other page, I'm just going to sort of layer in different shades of green. And that's it. This happy little journal is going to make its way over to Evergreen Lodge at Yosemite, and hopefully it inspires a few people to start documenting their adventures while they're there. Hope you loved this video. Definitely subscribe and watch more. Thanks so much, and I'll see you around.